All right, welcome back. Today we're talking about the very first task in the TOEFL writing section. This is an integrated task. You will both read a passage and listen to an audio file before you write your response. And it's an academic topic which you have to summarize. So let's go over the different skills and abilities that you need. As always, you'll need the ability to focus, because once you listen to the audio, just about everybody in the room is going to start typing at about the same time. So you're going to be hearing a lot of clickety-clacking on the keys, and you'll just have to make sure that you stay focused on what you're doing and not pay attention to all the people around you. You'll have to have the ability to effectively take notes. Now, you won't necessarily have to take notes on the reading section, because even though you have a text that you have to read, the text will disappear when you're listening to the audio file, but it will actually come back onto the screen when you're actually writing your response. So you don't need to take notes on the reading section, but if it helps you to organize your ideas, then definitely do it. But you will have to be able to take notes on the audio file, because that obviously is going to disappear. You only get to hear it once. You can't go back and listen to it again. So you'll have to have at least an intermediate level of English skills and vocabulary. This is mostly important, first of all, so that you comprehend the vocabulary used in both the reading file and the audio file, but also in the way that you formulate a response. You have to use proper English sentence structure and the joining of ideas from one paragraph to the next, and also the use of your vocabulary is going to be taken into consideration. Now, one point I want to mention is that you don't need to use big words, so don't try to use vocabulary which is not normal for you. It's not natural. I mean, definitely expand your vocabulary before the exam, and you can do that by pressing that little vocabulary button, and it takes you to the GiveMeSomeEnglish TOEFL vocabulary database. This is based on the 5,000 most commonly used words in the English language. You probably know most of the words in this database, but if you don't, you can click on the word, and it will take you to, first of all, the words page on the pronunciation portal for GiveMeSomeEnglish. It takes you directly to the word. Once you're on that page, you can click the word, and it takes you to that word's page on Wiktionary. So you can learn what the word means. You can learn about the etymology, where the word came from. You learn about the different pronunciation. You can play the audio file to know the pronunciation. And here it actually shows you both phonetically and with the phonetic alphabet how to pronounce the word. And it gives you other information about the stress on the word. You can click on that, and it takes you to a wonderful blog post about word stress. She's very stressed, but that's not the kind of stress we're talking about. So everything in the GiveMeSomeEnglish universe is all linked up and connected. So anytime you see a link, it will take you to some place useful. So getting back to this task, though, you need to have the ability to recognize the main idea and supporting details of a written text, and you'll also need the ability to recognize the main idea and supporting details of an audio file. This one is going to be a lecture. You'll also have to have the ability to summarize information from both of those sources, and you've already done this before in the speaking section when you had the combining information task, this one right here. The only difference between these two tasks, besides the fact that you're going to be writing your answer for this one, where you spoke your answer on this one, is that the writing is going to be a little bit bigger. There's going to be more words, as you can see from the example page here. It's not huge, but it's pretty big. I mean, it's, you know, with the combining information, the reading text was about this big. They just introduced a topic, gave you the definition, and then moved on. With this task, they give you more information about it, and then the person speaks about it, and you have to combine the information from both sources to make a concise statement. Also, another big difference is that this one, you have 20 minutes to prepare your answer. So because of this, not everybody is going to start typing right away once you get to that point, because people are going to be looking at their notes and formulating their ideas. But then you have 20 minutes from the time that the audio file finishes. The reading passage will appear back on your screen, and you have 20 minutes to complete this task. So one of the main things that is really great about this task is that everything that you have to do for this task are things that you've already done on all of the other questions and tasks in the exam. you'll probably notice by the time you get to this writing section, at least in the TOEFL Excellence course, is that we keep repeating a lot of the skills that you have to use and also a lot of the tasks that you have to do. Once again, we have the main idea and supporting details. Well, you've been looking for main ideas and supporting details in so many different reading passages and audio files all throughout this course that by the time you get to this point, you should already know how to identify those main ideas and details, whether it's in a written text or in an audio file. So when I first started teaching the TOEFL exam, a lot of the students, before we went through it, were really worried about this task. But there's absolutely no reason that you should be worried about this, because as with all of the things in the TOEFL exam, all of the skills that you're being tested for in this exam are things that you have already done probably thousands of times before. The only thing is that you're being tested in your ability to do this in English, which you probably have already done anyways. So let's take a look at the example. As I mentioned, the reading text is a little bit larger than it is with the combining information task in the speaking section. But one of the good things about this is that they give you the main idea and the supporting details. Now, this one has 3 paragraphs, but there's a good chance you'll have just one main paragraph and then 2 other paragraphs, and those are the other supporting details, or what I refer to as subtopics sometimes. Because sometimes the subtopics are not necessarily supporting details of the main idea. They're just breaking down the main idea into different categories. Now, as far as the audio file, this is also very similar to something that you've experienced before, because since most of the information is already presented in the reading passage, the speaker in the lecture, in the audio file, is going to be doing something like you've experienced before, where they're either going to give more information about it. Well, there's a lot of information here, so they're not going to give you different information. What they're going to do is, if they give you more information, they will probably give you examples about some of the subtopics that they talk about in the reading section, or the person in the audio file might contradict or disagree with what is said in the reading section. So basically, if they talk about some idea or some theory or something like that, maybe the person in the audio file is going to say, well, it's true that blah, 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 but this is not always true because. And so they give you some ideas that go against what is written right here. Now, just like with the speaking section task, which is very similar to this, you have to show how the ideas are related. But this is also something that you don't necessarily have to do as a separate skill, because simply following the strategy to report on both the reading section and the audio file, you're going to naturally show how they're related. It's not possible to write about both and not show how they're related, because every point that the person in the audio file makes is going to be related directly to every point that's in the reading passage. This is also going to make it much easier for you when you're making your notes, because it's going to be solidifying some of the information that you may have read up here. So if you have one of those reading passages where you know what the main idea is, but they have so many different details that it's hard to determine what the different subtopics are, then when you're listening to the audio file, the information that they give you will make it much more clear than what it is in the reading passage. Now, sometimes it will be very obvious what the actual subtopics or supporting details are. And then, the person will probably just give examples of it. But if you remember from going through this one, this reading section has a lot of detail, a lot of information. And so it's almost not clear what the subtopics are, because they also have first, second, and third. There's not usually 3 subtopics. Usually there's just 2. But then this person talks about the ideas written in the text and makes it a little bit more clear for you to be able to break it down and categorize it so that you can come up with a good summary. So really, that's it. That's basically all we need to get into now without going into the actual strategy, because you'll learn about that soon. And the official video, even though this was created a couple years ago, so it was created before the new changes to the TOEFL, the information that is given in this video is still very good. The name is different, but the information is still good. It's still relevant. So that's pretty much all I need to say now. We've covered all of the basic information that you need to know about this task. All right, so thank you for stopping by, and we'll see you in the next lesson.